Welcome to the Yellowjackets Hive, presented by cordcutting.com. I'm Melanie here with.
And I'm Emily.
And we are back covering continuity errors in Yellowjackets. And we should kick it off by saying nobody's perfect. These things happen. And I also don't think that Yellowjackets had any idea the fandom would be so intuitive and critical over every single detail.
No way. They probably had no clue that we would analyze everything down to the nitty-gritty like we have.
Down to everything. So we've made a list of all the continuity errors that we've been able to gather, but we challenge all the viewers out there. If you can find a continuity error that we missed, we'll give away one of our products from yellowjacketshiveshop.com. How does that sound?
Yeah. I hope someone's up for that challenge because there has to be one that we didn't come across.
Right. There are so many eagle-eyed fans though, so who knows? I mean, maybe we did cover them all. We'll see. So kicking things off, why don't we open with something that Melanie Lynskey had said in an interview where she kind of talked about with People magazine how she felt justified in, being nitpicky over some of these things. Emily, why don't you read what Melanie had to say about continuity in general for season 1?
Okay. She said, "In the first season, I was a bit nitpicky about continuity and different things like that. Well, how about this thing happened before? So shouldn't this thing happen now? And now I feel justified because the fans are paying that much attention. So now I'm like, listen, it's going to be all over Reddit if we don't do this." And people are like, oh, okay. And people were a little bit annoyed with me.
That's hilarious. And I love that she has such a dedication to her craft where this attention to detail is a core thing for her in working on the show. And I love that. Teamwork makes the dream work. And I think having one of your lead actors, behind the continuity stuff is important. So good for Melanie. I love that.
It means a lot to the fandom, I think, that they do pay attention to the fact that we're watching and they actually consider viewers' feelings and stuff like that. So yeah. It's really cool to know that the actors care about that kind of stuff, just like we do.
Right. And moving forward, I think that's probably made their production team even more critical and eagle-eyed with all of these details to avoid further continuity errors. So I think they probably learned their lesson during season 1. So I'd be surprised if we saw more of them. But kicking off the list of continuity errors that we are aware of, one of the biggest ones involves license plates. Talk about that, Emily.
So in season 1, at 2 separate times on 2 separate vehicles, we see the same exact license plate. We see it on Adams when Shauna and him get into the car accident when she rear-ends him. And the license plate says 6N4, I think that's BB7.
I think BB7, unless it's 887, but it looks like BB7, either BB7 or 887. Yes.
And then we later see the exact same license plate on Misty's car when Natalie and her are about to go on their road trip to find Travis.
That's right.
And there are very obvious shots of the license plate too. Like you can very clearly read them. They're not obscured by anything. So a lot of people, when they first noticed this and made this connection, thought that meant that Misty and Adam might have some connection in some kind of way, which before we knew everything, that thought crossed my mind without the license plates even coming into play. So to have that detail to add to that theory made it even more so for a lot of people. They were really convinced that the two of them were somehow connected.
Yes. And I feel like it was probably a logistical thing. I actually have worked on a couple car commercials, and one of them, I believe that there's certain plate numbers that are authorized for television. So they probably just rotated the plate around versus getting a second authorized plate. I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I've worked on one, and I'm in California. This is New Jersey, maybe different rules, etc. But either way, they definitely use the same license plate.
Yeah. Very obviously too.
Yes. Yep. And good for, again, our eagle-eyed fandom for picking up on that, right?
Yep.
So another one from season 1 that we found, we actually saw this teddy bear in, I believe it was the pilot, in Jackie's room, Emily.
Yes,
and
we did.
Just a question for you. What does this teddy bear with one eye remind you of?
It reminds me of Leonard. The other no-eye teddy bear that we came to know and love during season 1, along with Laura Lee, met his tragic end in that plane explosion.
Yes, absolutely, Emily, sitting in the passenger seat when Laura Lee exploded. Now, looking at this Leonard in Jackie's bedroom, it looks like Leonard is missing a right eye. Now, looking at this Leonard of Laura Lee's, looks like Leonard's missing a left eye. What's up
Yeah,
with that?
and that would be so weird for them to include not only a teddy bear for 2 characters, but a one-eyed teddy bear for 2 characters. So, is it supposed to be the same bear, or is it just some kind of like a coincidence that they happen to both have a teddy bear that only has one eye, which I feel like that's a really big coincidence.
It is. And of course, there is the symbolism of eyes kind of throughout the show. We have the man with
Mhm.
no eyes, some mysterious symbols and whatnot. So maybe it somehow ties into that. Maybe it's just an oversight and the props department, once they realized they needed another teddy bear, just kind of shifted it around thinking nobody would notice, but people
Yeah.
noticed.
Yeah, everyone noticed.
Yeah. I mean, and this Leonard in Jackie's bedroom has like a little bit of white on the left side of its nose.
True.
This
And this
Leonard does
one's
not.
nose almost looks like it's, like, off center.
Yeah, it does. And this other Leonard's nose looks like it's a little bit more centered.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Interesting. What's
yeah.
the deal with Leonard? Leonard conspiracies abound. Okay, so this next one, not as much a continuity error, but just something different with continuity and recasting. And of course, we've seen recasting throughout the show. We saw the Man with No Eyes recast. We
Mhm.
saw Aquila recast for season 2.
Yeah.
And this one is Kevyn Tan. This is Kevyn Tan from the pilot.
Yes.
And
And
this is Kevyn Tan from the other episodes in season 1.
yes, very obviously not the same person.
Right. And you know what? Recastings happen all the time, especially during the COVID era. I mean, things got,
Yeah,
kind of weird, scheduling, that sort of thing. So who knows? The actor may not have been available, but they definitely did use a different actor for Kevyn Tan.
yeah. I like the second Kevyn Tan a little bit better. I don't know if it was just because, like, we had more context and he spoke more, and we got a little bit more from him than we did from the first one, but I felt like he looked a lot similar to adult Kevyn Tan than the first one did.
Oh, big time. I mean, if we're
Yeah,
looking at it from that perspective, 100%.
yeah.
Original Kevyn Tan does not look anything like adult Kevyn Tan. This Kevyn Tan,
Mm-mm.
exceptional casting. Another continuity thing we saw was with Jackie's journals. And
Mhm.
granted, this one has kind of been resolved a little bit, right? So we saw some notations of movies and pop culture items that came out after Jackie had actually perished.
Yeah.
So a lot of fans speculated that, maybe Jackie survived and this was some kind
Mhm.
of a clue. But that's actually not what happened. Ashley Lyle has come out and talked about it. What did she say?
She said that, I mean, it was on purpose that they included these things in the journal, and that we should be more inclined to believe that somebody else filled that out for Jackie, like, as a way to commemorate her memory and keep her memory living on, in a way, if you will, what she would have liked if she did make it back, to make
Right.
that loss hurt a little bit less, I guess, in a way.
She also talked about how it kind of tied into Shauna's character a little bit in terms of
Yeah.
like healing and embracing, or I guess grieving the loss of Jackie.
Yeah.
And maybe this was a way that she kind of dealt with that trauma and keeping up with the journals to honor her. So,
Yeah, actually, because we saw in season 2, after Jackie died, Shauna started seeing Jackie, and, I mean, we saw that in season 1 as well, but it was right after Jackie died that she started seeing her, we came to learn, and I feel like her filling out a journal in Jackie's memory, like, it's not weird for Shauna to do that, because she's seeing her, she's talking to her. which is weirder than filling out a fake journal for someone, in my opinion.
Right. And we know that she's into journaling, obviously.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's within her wheelhouse of perhaps grieving. So another interesting continuity error comes with the timing of two scenes that occurred during season 1. Tell us about those, Emily.
So someone on Reddit realized that the night of Thaisa's election, not the night that we see her with her election team or the crew that helped her win, but the night of the reunion and the actual physical election where you went and voted happened to be on the same day, which somebody pointed out that election day is on a Tuesday, first of all. Like, everyone knows that election day is on a Tuesday. So why are you having a 25-year high school reunion on a Tuesday night? That's really random and weird. So was it purposeful? Did they not think that anyone would notice? Because we've all noticed everything when it comes to the timing of the show.
Right. And just remind me again, how exactly did they put those two pieces together?
I think they figured it out by figuring out what day it was supposed to be on the show. Because someone also pointed out that in season 1, in the adult timeline, in every episode, they make a reference to what day it is of the week at some point in time. So they realized that both of those things happen to be happening on a Tuesday. At least that's what I think that they deduced.
Right. And we did have Halloween as, of course, like a marker.
True.
We know Halloween happened. So that was a very succinct date, October 31st. And then typically election day follows in early November, the first Tuesday. So, yeah, I mean, it tracks. It makes sense. But wow, I mean, to be able to be such a strong citizen detective and put those clues together, props to Reddit once again.
Yeah, Reddit is a gold mine, seriously.
Oh my God. I mean, Reddit rabbit holes with Yellowjackets, real thing. It's kind of an addiction. Okay, back to cars one more time. So we notice here that Misty is driving a Fiat.
Yes.
What kind of car was Misty driving here?
That is a Nissan Rogue, which is most definitely not a Fiat.
Not a Fiat, Emily. Not a Fiat. So we have two car continuity errors separate, the license plates and the makes and models for one of the main characters. I wonder how that happens.
Read the license plate in that last picture of the Rogue to see if it was the same license plate from the other two cars, but
oh my God, you know what? It probably is. And I am curious, how did that come to be? You know, they have a certain amount of production vehicles for production. Did they forget to rent the same make and model? Was like a production assistant, who are awesome, by the way. I was a production assistant when I first started out. Did they rent the wrong car? Like, how did that happen? It must have been a logistics thing. Perhaps the Fiat wasn't available from their dealer or rental place.
A Fiat is definitely more Misty's speed than a Nissan Rogue. I feel like a Fiat fits her perfectly.
Yeah, no, a Fiat is great for Misty. Two completely different vehicles from one character, driving them within a very short span of time.
Yeah, and we never see the Rogue again, so it's not like Misty has two cars.
No, she most definitely does not have two cars.
No.
No, just not a thing. Okay, so I think we've covered all of the continuity errors, or at least the major ones. But again, we challenge you. If you can come up with a continuity error that we missed, we will give an item away from yellowjacketshiveshop.com, a Funko. We'll give you something. We'll cap it at 3 people. So that way, if for some strange reason there's like a million other continuity errors out there that we missed, we're not giving away 1 million prizes, but we'll do 3. So come up with some continuity errors, Yellowjackets fandom.
Yeah, I want to hear them.
I'd be shocked if there are any in season 2. I mean, I really feel like they fine-tooth combed all of these little details after some of these little missteps in season 1.
They learned that everybody pays attention to everything when it comes to this show.
Yep. And they're also great at their job. It's an easy thing to just, make sure that there's an extra pair of eyes on all these details with props, license plates, vehicles, all that stuff. So
yeah,
I'm curious to see if there will be more or if it was just a season 1 thing. So TBD.
All right. So until we spill again.